The Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Authority, ECTEL, celebrates a significant milestone in the organization's history, the convening of its 100th General Board of Directors meeting. What is the Board of Directors of ECTEL? The composition and functions of the Board of Directors is enshrined in Article 8 of the ECTEL Treaty, which was signed on 4th May 2000 and amended by Protocol Amendment dated 5th December 2019. The treaty requires that the Board of Directors comprises one member from each of ECTEL's 5 contracting states to be appointed by the Minister with responsibility for electronic communications or an alternate, designated by the Minister for a term of 1 year. The Managing Director of ECTEL serves as an ex officio member of the board. The board is led by a chairperson who is appointed by the Council of Ministers for a term of 1 year. The chairmanship rotates annually among the contracting states. The board convenes as often as the business of ECTEL may require. Special meetings can also be requested by a member. These requests are made to the chairperson in writing. Although the board convenes its 100th general meeting on Friday, 21st February 2025, the board has convened several special board meetings during its last 25 years of ECTEL's existence. The role of the board. According to the ECTEL Treaty, the functions of the board include to have oversight over or of the Directorate of ECTEL, to establish rules and procedures consistent with the treaty for the management and operation of ECTEL, inclusive of rules for the operation of the ECTEL Fund, to ensure the effective implementation of the treaty, policies and directives from the Council, to make recommendations to the Council on any matter relating to electronic communications, to make recommendations to the Council on the internal organizational structure of ECTEL, to report to the Council on the activities of the board and the Managing Director, to devise relevant forms, licenses, and procedures for individual licenses and frequency authorizations to ensure transparency, to approve relevant fees for individual licenses, and to monitor compliance in conjunction with the respective national telecommunications regulatory commissions with relevant electronic communications legislation, licenses of frequency and regulations enacted in the contracting states.
What has the board approved? The first board meeting was convened on 12 November 2000, following ECTEL's establishment on 4th May 2000. This meeting was of great significance as it set the foundation for future meetings of the board. As ECTEL was at its early stages of formation, for the first 50 general meetings, the board considered and deliberated on essential foundational operational and regulatory policies. Indeed, by the 50th board meeting, ECTEL's licensing framework was fully established and adopted in the contracting states, and a number of individual licensees and frequency authorizations were issued by the ministers with responsibility for electronic communications. Over the next 50 meetings of the board considered several matters such as operational policies, regulatory policies such as number portability, regimes for the regulation of retail tariffs, spectrum management, amendments to legislation, approval of the new Electronic Communications Bill, amendment to the treaty, and accompanying regulations. How does the board function? The Directorate, in serving as a secretariat to ECTEL, manages the board's business. Once the agenda for each board meeting is finalized by the chairperson of the board, it is circulated to the members of the board and the management staff of ECTEL. Agenda items to be presented to the board are presented in the form of board papers, which are circulated to the board members at least 1 week prior to the board meeting. The board papers, which are drafted by the management staff of the Directorate, would contain information relating to the agenda item, as well as recommended actions for the board, whether it be for the board's approval or general noting. It is important to note that some matters are required to be reviewed by small committees established by the board before they are presented in the general board meeting for final approval or discussion. For instance, financial matters are reviewed by the Audit and Risk Finance Committee, ARFC, and matters relating to corporate governance are reviewed by the Corporate Governance and Nominating Committee, CGNC. This structure ensures that all matters are dealt with comprehensively. In order for the board to commence a meeting, a quorum is to be established by its members with a simple majority. On the day of the meeting, the management staff would engage in an oral presentation of the board papers. The chairperson must ensure that all matters included on the agenda are dispensed with. Following the meeting, the secretary to the board and the executive assistant to the managing director would prepare the minutes of the board meeting, ensuring that all key decisions are recorded.
Who attends ECTEL's board meetings? The board meeting is divided into 2 parts, the general part and the caucus part. During the general part of the meeting, the staff of the Directorate and the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commissions are invited to participate, and members of the public are invited to observe. The caucus part of the meeting are held in camera, which means that the meeting would be closed to the public. The chairperson, under the board's meeting rules and procedures, would further advise as to who would participate during the caucus part of the meeting. The agenda would indicate which items would be discussed during each part of the meeting. Are the meetings recorded? All board meetings are recorded, and the Directorate maintains a repertoire of the approved minutes of the meetings. The minutes of the meeting must be confirmed by the board at the following meeting. Thereafter, the minutes are catalogued and are kept as a record of the board's decisions and are utilized as reference material for the board, council, and the Directorate. It must be acknowledged that for 40 general meetings of the board, the late Miss Perlake, Executive Assistant to ECTEL's Managing Director, diligently assisted the board in the timely preparation of minutes and indeed with all the logistical and administrative arrangements for directors to attend board meetings. Her dedication to handling the board's administrative requirements was unparalleled and evident in the exceptional care and quality of the work she produced. She is remembered for her consistent attention to detail and exceptional professionalism in her interaction with all board directors over more than 20 years employed with ECTEL. One of her most enduring legacies is that ECTEL has adopted a distinctive, standardized method for clear and concise recording of minutes, which was developed and honed by Miss Perlake over many years. 100th meeting and the future of the ECTEL board. The board will convene its 100th meeting on Friday, 21st February 2025 on MS Teams from 9 a.m. and you're all welcome to register to observe. The meeting will be chaired by the current director for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Mr. Mark Richardson. This achievement reflects the dedication, collaboration, and vision of our board members whose guidance has been instrumental in driving the success and growth of ECTEL over the years. Under the visionary leadership of the board during the establishment of ECTEL, the electronic communications sector moved from a single monopoly to liberalization with the introduction of new rules and procedures for the licensing framework. To date, the board continues to deliver on its mandate. With the evolution of the electronic communications sector, the board is challenged to consider emerging issues to ensure that the citizens of the contracting states have access to affordable digital services. In keeping with the thrust to advance the electronic communications sector, the agenda for the 100th General Meeting will include updates on the current work being done by ECTEL. The current board, therefore, continues to build on the strong foundation set by its predecessors, recognizing that each decision taken today is a continuation of the legacy established by past board members. And so, we extend our sincere appreciation to every board member and chairperson over the last 25 years for their invaluable contributions to the electronic communication sector in the ECTEL contracting states.